it's Leela, the proud Poly Kinky Queer Slut. Today's question is, how do you balance sex and life? Does it ever feel like it consumes you? And this question came with a lot of context behind it, and fears about getting into the promiscuous dating thing, having sex with a lot of people, and how that can be overwhelming. And short answer is yes, sometimes it is overwhelming, and especially when I was first adjusting to this, it was all consuming sometimes. But I also think that not having what I needed, what was truly consuming, and I would obsess about it more when I wasn't getting what I needed. And when I am getting my needs met, it's easier to focus on other parts of life. There are a few aspects to this that I find very interesting, and in reflecting on myself and what I have experienced and what I've done, some advice, but also some just commiseration on a few things. So first, this feeling of not having enough sex in your life is very much like feeling like you don't have enough food or water or shelter. Because sex is a primal need, not for everybody, but for a lot of us, it's a primal need. So if you're not getting the sex that you need in your life, then it can feel like you're missing something big. You're missing something really important. And that can become all consuming. And the approach for the search for that can become all consuming. Because it is a need. That physical attention is a need. Also, in our culture, we're not very good at physical touch and physical reassurance. And so sexuality is kind of how we get that a lot of times. So if you're not getting that, it can absolutely feel that way. So I want to just point out that that feeling of that fear that it'll be overwhelming is sometimes because it's overwhelming not having it. And that I definitely felt that before I found this lifestyle. In the change and transition to opening up, there's another element of this that is, it's complicated balancing multiple partners. And I do a few things to help with that, but when you're getting your sexual needs satisfied by multiple people who are not people that you're in a romantic relationship with, who aren't available to you on a daily basis, there's just more logistics involved, more coordination involved. So, for example, if you and your spouse both have a really matching sex drive, and you're having sex on a regular basis that's satisfying both of you, there's not a whole lot of logistical work that goes into scheduling those dates, spending that time, getting to know each other well enough to have sex, all of those things. Those things do become legitimate challenges in terms of time and energy. And we all have our own levels with respect to what we can actually put into those things. And I like the term polysaturated because it quickly conveys I'm maxed out. I've got all of the emotional labor that I can deal with right now with the partners that I've currently got. And figuring out where that threshold is for you does kind of require going a little too far and then pulling it back. A tip for managing that, especially if you're looking at having sex with lots of different people and not necessarily having that sex be tied to your romantic relationships, the traditional way of dating for sex is very labor intensive. So going on a first date and a second date, and then maybe third date you have sex, and then is it a relationship, is it not, what's going on with that? That's all a ton of emotional labor and also takes a ton of time. So for me, I really like putting myself out there in places and in ways that make it very clear that I am sex first right now, and being very specific about what I'm looking for. So if what I'm looking for is a one night stand, is just casual sex, then I put myself out there saying I'm looking for casual sex. If I'm looking for a specific kind of kink play, I put myself out there, and when people flirt with me, I say I'm looking for this specific kind of kink play. Now I can do that more because I am doing that in spaces that are sex positive culturally, where that is what is where I know I'm not going to be sex shamed, so I'm not having to go through those hoops of meeting somebody in a more of a club, like a dance club setting or casual vanilla life, and then having to educate them about what poly is, what sex positivity is, what my queerness is. Kind of starting from that baseline is helpful. Transparency and communication is helpful as well. So even if you are going out there to just in the default world to try to find partners in kind of the standard hookup scene, the more you can be really clear up front about what you're looking for and what you want, the more likely you are to get it. There is unfortunately a AFAB advantage. People who are feminine and people who are born women tend to have an easier time finding dates in the pickup play scene. That's been my experience anyway, and it's frustrating because frankly it's like I know so many nice guys who have a harder time with this, but for those folks it's still the same rule of thumb, like honesty, transparency, really being clear about what you want, and not being afraid of your sexuality is also very important. There's nothing shameful about your sexuality. And so owning that and owning that I want to have a really great time with you and connect with you, but just tonight, that helps. Get good at saying no as well. So if you're not interested in something, one of the things that takes a ton of time is trying to let people down softly, or trying to say no when you're not interested, like in a way that doesn't hurt people's feelings. And I would advise just scrap all that. Hurt people's feelings. It's okay. It's absolutely fine to have fun with somebody one night and then just decide you're not interested in doing it again, and to tell them, I had fun with you, but I'm not interested in doing that again. Or whatever the truth is. Like, you're not under any obligation to take care of their feelings. That is on them. And, you don't need to be a jerk about it, but if you are, it's fine. It's like, it's taking some of the seriousness out of this whole thing. Like, it doesn't all have to be serious all the time. And then this question specifically is asking about balancing sex and life and other responsibilities. And I just want to say that, like, that's always challenging. And I gotta say, as a mother, there are so many things that are challenging about balancing life. Like, take the sex out of the equation. Balancing life is hard. Balancing work, balancing family, getting all of my needs met while making sure that my family is also getting their needs met, supporting each other, keeping the money coming in. All of those things are challenging. So what I do is I schedule in priority order. Because ultimately, what you get is what you want and what you put time into facilitating and making happen. So when I'm addressing my calendar, when I'm looking at my calendar, and I keep a calendar. That's a good tip. Keep a calendar. But when I look at my calendar and keep my calendar, the first things I schedule on those calendars are the responsibilities that I have as a mother. So kid stuff goes on that calendar first. Whether that's band performances or first day of school or slumber parties or whatever the kids have going on, that goes on my calendar first. Now, we have made efforts to make sure that our kids are not crazy overscheduled like a lot of kids are. So for example, I don't have like whole weekends on holiday weekends that we're spending at like ball tournaments, because that's not something that we have prioritized as a family. But if I did, that would go on the calendar first. The second thing I put on the calendar are dates with my wife, because that relationship is very important to me. And so we don't have dates. I don't have dates with my wife as frequently as I have dates with other people collectively, but I make sure that I have dates with my wife on the calendar as a priority, and that those don't get canceled. If they get shifted, they get moved, not canceled. Then I ask myself, what do I want? What do I actually want right now? What do I need in my life? And then I schedule plans to either go clubbing or go meet people in priority order based on what I want, what I actually want. And when I did have other romantic partners, it was my wife, then other romantic partner, then whatever other casual stuff I wanted, provided that was in line with my desires. So that's how I do it. And then it's important also when you're doing that to keep self-care days in there and dates with yourself, because it's very easy to get overbooked and then just not schedule time for yourself. And it's very, very important to have time for yourself, to have some alone time for you to just do what you enjoy. I found that it's important for me to keep meeting new people time on my calendar, because it's easy to get kind of wrapped up in the connections I have. And if I'm not getting all of the little nuanced things I want, then I still need to be open to meeting new people to get those things. So it's whatever those priorities are for you. Making sure they actually get calendared in that priority order assures you you're not losing track of life while giving you the freedom to take that time to pursue those things. So I hope you find that helpful. It is a challenge. Balancing everything is challenging. But I find it a rewarding challenge and very much worth it. And just going back to what I said at the beginning, that desperation kind of lets up when you're actually getting satisfied with what you want. So it becomes less of a need and less of an urgency and less of a overpowering thing in your brain and more just another part of your calendar. Or at least in my experience, that's what happened. Like, sowed my wild oats for a while, and I'm still sowing my wild oats, but I'm now it's a portion of my week, not the very most important part of my week. So anyway, I hope you find that helpful. And to this particular viewer who asked this question, I will absolutely be addressing your the other components of your question shortly. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your time. You can reach me anytime at kinkyqueerslut@gmail.com. Ask me anything.